One of the more common questions I get is how to do shading or lighting. So I thought I'd record a quick video instead of like making a whole thread about it on how I do it. This tutorial is going to use both like a layer focused art style, like where you can use overlay, multiply, etc., as well as a combination of like painting skills. And on the canvas here, I have two different settings just to help you understand like what shading and lighting could look like in like a dark and light environment. So first off, we're gonna start with a dark, like nighttime setting over here with Blade. So for this one, we're going to imagine that there's like a cool, like light source. I'll pick another color right here, and it's going to cast light right onto his face. So what I do after I set down the base colors for my character, I'm going to create a multiply layer, and I'm going to pick roughly like a lavender-ish blue color somewhere in the middle, not too strong, and I'm gonna like fill the entire clipped layer with it so that the character's cast into shadow. And now whenever I want to create a like the lit portion of the character, I'm going to pick a more pastel version of that color. Sometimes I make it a little bit warmer or I make it a little bit cooler depending on the vibe that I want. Cooler colors personally is like my favorite type of lighting. Warmer colors are just easier for me to work with, but if you want to do something a little bit more cold, you could do that too. It has more of like a kind of like a solemn or eerie effect. So pick the color that the corresponding vibe you want. But for this one, we're just gonna go with a cool one since the daytime one will have a warmer tone. But anyways, I've already picked the color that I want. I'm going to sculpt out the highlighted areas of his face. And it's also good to have like the dark multiply color loaded in over here so that if I need to like erase anything, I can just go back in and color it. This part is where it's really useful for you to have an understanding of like planes of the face and the body so that you understand where these like lit areas should be created. But you can also just really eyeball it too, since this is like the initial stage of your lighting. While also doing the stage, I think it's pretty helpful to figure out where you want your lighting to be, whether it be directly on the side of the face, or for example, at the very top. I would definitely like play around if you don't have any ideas, but once you do, you're good to go. Now, once you have the lit areas created, like this, very easy, we're going to create an overlay layer next just to add some more warmth and saturation into it. And I'm going to pick out a warm tone and a cool tone just to see what the difference would look like and which one I would prefer. So I'm going to use an airbrush tool and I'm going to very lightly brush the overlay color towards like the edge of where the dark and the light meet. So this is what warm looks like, and this is what cool looks like. He looks a little dead with the cool tone, but I think that'll be an interesting contrast to the daytime one of theirs, so I'm gonna go with that. And maybe brush some orange in. There we go. I'm mainly focusing on brushing into these areas here and not necessarily like over here. Now, once I have that done, I'm going to start painting, right? For example, with the face, now that I have the dark color and the light color, I'm gonna pull out my painting brush and I'm gonna start adding some more definition and rendering to his face using these two colors that I just created with my multiply and overlay layer. Just add more cleanliness to the render, right? it. But so far, this looks pretty two-dimensional. So what we're gonna do is we're going to grab the lighter face color and we're going to move it up a little bit and add some more warmth. So I'm moving my color wheel a bit to the left side, so that's where the warmer colors are. And that's going to give you like a slightly brighter, warmer color that will add more depth to your color palette and character. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the shadow side, except I'm going to move it to the right and move it down a little. And now you have 4 colors to create the shadow and the light onto your character. And when you're doing all of that, you're also making sure that your colors are harmonious and that they work well together. And in the case that you feel like, oh, you know, like the colors, they do look good, but I feel like they're still not blending very well together. One thing that I always do to make sure that my colors look good together is that I'm going to create a new layer and I'm going to do screen. Screen works in that it takes all of the colors that you laid down. Let me see if I can create a gradient real quick. It takes all of your colors and it puts like a color filter over it. And it's going to like match the values of the colors you put down with whatever color you put on top. So to explain what I just said, I have like a black and white simple gradient over here, and I'm going to use this like really bright like Windows blue color, and I have the screen filter on. I'm gonna overlay that on top. As you can see, it matched, well, I guess it didn't perfectly match, but it created like a vibrant gradient using the color that I just picked out. Or if I do like a more mid-value blue, it's going to create a value gradient out of that. I don't know how to explain it, but it's a good way for me personally to make sure that all the colors that I'm using from like a specific theme or area are harmonious. So going back to that, I'm going to the screen layer on my blade, and I want to make all of the colors on his entire like character layer to be more maybe blue. So I'm going to pick a bluish color. Generally, when I'm using screen, I pick colors towards the bottom right corner, because if I do it in the bottom left, it looks a little bit too gray. But if I do it at the top left, it just kind of washes out all of your colors. You can do it top right too, but that doesn't fit my style, so I kind of avoid going in that area. That looks good. I'm gonna like toggle the screen layer on and off so you can see the difference. I'm gonna zoom out a bit just to make sure that the colors are readable from afar. So yeah, blue blends in with the background too much. I'm gonna go with a purple. And then that's the difference with a screen layer and without. Pretty noticeable in my opinion, and I think it's a really good quick hack just to make sure that like your colors don't look too muddy or too jarring against one another. And then again, I'll make a brand new layer, and then I'm gonna start painting over everything just to make sure that it has like that rendered feel to it. And as like a quick last minute bonus step, I will like, usually I do like a warmer sub-scattering like middle layer color. I don't know how to explain it, but to just create some sort of transition between this dark color and this light color, I'll add like a middle color in between. But that one looks too dark, so I'm gonna do pinkish purple instead. Now it kind of feels like he's been lit by like some neon lighting. It just looks a little bit more interesting. And there we go. All right, so I did go ahead and finish this part how I usually would if I were rendering a real piece of artwork, and we're gonna quickly go through how I achieve this effect. That would probably require another video entirely, but anyways, if you're wondering how I acquired this like these subtle hue jitters over here, you can go to my Twitter thread that I recently posted, or just, you know, look me up and look like art style guide thread or art thread, and you can find all the Clip Studio paintbrushes I used. I can also link them in the description below. But anyways, to get the biggest difference between this fully rendered step and this one, I would say, is definitely establishing like chroma differences. Going back to the Munsell color system, that really changed the game for me. It's how I achieved this like glowy effect on his hair vents and like the back of his hair, instead of going to like a pure bright color like in the top left. I just go directly to the top right where the colors are their most pigmented. And because the rest of the colors on this canvas are let me do this so it's easier to see. Because the rest of the colors on this canvas are pretty dark, or yeah, like pretty dark and muted, when they're put next to a color that's like very highly pigmented, there's like an inherent brightness to them, in the same way that like whenever you put a highlighter onto like your textbook or whatever it is you're writing, the highlighter color really pops out. That's kind of the same like visual processing that's happening on screen. I would highly recommend anyone learning about the Munsell color system. But anyways, I like using those high chroma colors on the very like darkest parts of where a color should be. It's a technique that I've picked up from Chinese and like Japanese artists, because they seem to do that a lot. But anyways, I rendered out some more planes of his face with like the highlight colors and the dark colors, just to really establish value and create more depth on his figure. And then with my color jitter brush, this one right here, I just go in very lightly, about like 40% pen pressure. I just lightly brush the colors over his hair or wherever it is that I'm rendering, to create like a dry airbrush effect. And I think that adds like more visual clarity to these, because a big trick to making your artwork seem more detailed or elaborate than it actually is by using textures. You can also achieve the same effect by using these brushes over here, right? You can also use chromatic aberration or put noise onto your artwork. It'll also make it seem like super detailed and interesting. So I'm gonna like very lightly add those in. I'm using this pink color here that worked as my like subsurface scattering, and I'm just gonna like lay it down where the lines are. This one a little thicker. Use this like feather tool. I'm gonna go erase away certain parts to it. And there you go. This is really simple ways to make your artwork look interesting or have some visual interest to it, and it really doesn't take long if you practice. And then we're gonna move on to the lower side. Oh shoot. Just gonna slap that back in. There you go. Same steps as before. We're going to create a multiply layer. And then for warmer settings, I tend to do somewhere in the orangish area, not too, like pick a color from an orange area in the top left for multiply. usually towards the very top, because if I go down a little bit, it's gonna look a bit gray, and if that's the theme you're going for, totally shoot for it. Yeah, we're gonna go with this, and maybe a bit darker, as if like he's standing in front of the sun, which causes like his features to be cast in shadow relative to you. I should probably mark where the sun is. So the sun is like right here. And so you're gonna see lighting on the edge there. Same as before. Now that I have my dark multiply color, I'm going to go to like the yellowish orange area, and I'm gonna pick a lighter color to create my lit areas. Since the sun is behind him, more or less, doesn't have to be always realistic, just what looks good. We're gonna do it like that. There we go, that works. Okay, I always find like warmly lit environments easier to create lighting on, and you're gonna see why, hopefully. Next, we're going to create the overlay layer. And we're gonna go back to the orangish area, and we're gonna, actually no. Yeah, okay, so if you ever wondered how artists have that like warm edge glow to their paintings, they use overlay and they like brush over the edges between where the dark and the light meet. The more like upper right corner or higher chroma your color is, the darker the color, the more sunburnt the character is going to be. But you choose something in the middle, it's more like a soft effect. So we're going to lay that on, and then in some areas we're going to do that nice orange glow. Yeah, I think I only want it for his neck. His cheeks. There you go. I brushed here, here, and here, just to emulate the fact that there's like blood flowing into these areas. And you can also make use a smaller brush and like line the edge between the dark and the light with like a medium value color, like in this middle section here, to create like that sub-scattering skin effect. And I think that really elevates your drawing by having that sort of lighting illusion. And then much like we did over here in the dark side, I'm going to create a fresh new layer, no modes or anything like that. I'm going to start sculpting in plans of the body. And since this is a lighter situation or more well-lit area, we're gonna go to our line art layer, and we're gonna make one layer on top, and then we're gonna choose the lightest color in our background, or white, either one works. I'll split it in half so you can see what it looks like. We're gonna outline the character so it gives the illusion of like light appearing behind them. So I'm not adding white all the way into his hair or his features, mainly just on the edge or in areas where like the viewer might have a hard time seeing the details. So the highlights really just serve as both like reinforcement of the lighting and to create more visual clarity. And then with like the lightest color in the background, I'm gonna go do the same thing. There you go. There are some art pieces where I mix both white and like a colored color to create like a more interesting field of depth. maybe that's not the right word for it, but hopefully this helps.